Hello and thank you for joining us on the news on NTA International. I'm Najaa Atutejani. The headlines. President Buhari approves appointment of acting President of Court of Appeal as retiring President Bulkachuwa sues for empowerment of the girl child. Federal High Court in Kano sets aside ruling suspending Adams Oshomole as national chairman of the APC. Update on COVID-19. Nigerian government shows competence in containing disease. Actualizing next level agenda in focus. National Policy Development Summit 2020 analyzes journey. And now the news in detail. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the appointment of Honorable Justice M.B. Dongban Mensem as the acting president of the Court of Appeal for an initial period of 3 months, with effect from March 6, 2020, when the incumbent president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Bulkachuwa, would statutorily retire from service. A statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garbashi, who says Justice Mensem is the next most senior judge of the Court of Appeal and will be acting pending when a substantive appointment to the position of the President of the Court of Appeal is made by President Buhari, subject to the confirmation of the Senate. The President's approval of the appointment of Justice Mensem followed the recommendation of the Chief Justice of Nigeria in line with the provisions of Section 238, subsection 4 and 5 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The retiring president of the Court of Appeal, Justice Zainab Adamu Bulkachuwa, has called for greater attention to be paid across the country to the education and empowerment of the girl child and women generally. She made the call at the special valedictory court session held to mark her exit as the president of the Court of Appeal. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo reports.
The attendance at the special valedictory court session for the retiring president of the Court of Appeal showed the effect of the service which Justice Zainab Bulkachuwa has offered Nigeria in her 43 years in the judiciary. Going from the Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, and 2 retired Chief Justices of Nigeria, 8 governors, 3 former governors, Supreme Court and Court of Appeal justices, and tens of other personalities in the bar and bench. This therefore sets the stage for her to speak on the area most dear to her now as she goes into retirement.
I go away with good cheer, and I pray that the Almighty Allah answers our prayers and grant us the will to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign.
Other key speakers who represented the legal community appraised Justice Zainab Bulkachuwa's tenure, saying it has been a blessing to Nigeria.
Honorable Justice Zainab Bulkachuwa has remained one of the best legal luminaries that this nation can boast of in our present day and legal chronicle.
She can listen patiently, answer wisely, consider soberly, and decide impatiently.
The NBA therefore calls for the immediate appointment of additional justices of the Court of Appeal.
If the success of Justice Zainab Bulkachuwa's tenure as President of the Court of Appeal and as a judicial officer were to be judged by the attendance at her valedictory court session, then one could easily come to the conclusion that she did not just end as a formidable judicial officer, but also touched the lives of various people in the process. From the Court of Appeal, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Federal High Court sitting in Kano State on Thursday set aside the ruling suspending Adams Oshomole as national chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC. Recall that a Federal Capital Territory High Court had on Wednesday ordered Oshomole to stop parading himself as national chairman of the ruling party. Justice Benlaimi Sanchi had ruled that the APC national chairman should step down pending the determination of a suit seeking his removal from office. The judge ruled on an application of an interlocutory injunction following his suspension as a member of the APC from Etsako Ward 10 in Edo State. Oshomole, however, appealed the ruling before Justice Louis Alagoa. Justice Alagoa, while hearing the matter, set aside the ruling of the FCT High Court, which suspended Oshomole. The judge also ordered security agencies like the police, the Department of State Services to provide security for Oshomole as he resumes office. Earlier, a highly placed source in the APC had disclosed that Oshomole will remain as national chairman pending the determination of his case. And activities have been put on hold at the All Progressives Congress National Secretariat following a Federal Capital Territory High Court order stopping Adams Oshomole from parading himself as the national chairman of the APC. Correspondent Salihu Abdullahi reports that 24 hours after the judgment, the Secretariat is under lock and key. As at the time he visited the party's headquarters in Abuja, staff were seen in groups outside the Secretariat building discussing the new development. Acting National Secretary of the party, Victor Gaidam, was subjected to a moment of interrogation before he was allowed inside, but his effort to make way for other staff was unsuccessful. Recall that Acting National Secretary, while reacting to the court ruling, gave assurance that the party's National Working Committee would meet concerning the current development. For now, the staff may have to wait for this decision outside while the security operatives maintain the lockdown. And the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshomole, has described his purported suspension from the governing party by his ward as null, void and of no effect. Mr. Oshomole stated this while addressing State House correspondents after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari. He said in any case, the Abuja court order restraining him from discharging his responsibilities has also been set aside by a superior court ruling in Kano.
Duty to brief Mr. President as the overall leader of our party about this development. I am not the best chairman in the world, but I believe I've given my all. I emphasize my all, even at the expense of my family welfare and family life, to support my party and to ensure that I work sometimes almost 20 hours a day to ensure that I provide the desired leadership that the APC need. Whatever you do, those who want to fight you will fight you. But I know that my tenure will be defined by God, not by man. And I worry more about what I will be remembered for when I was chairman, rather than how long I was chairman. He who God stands with, no man born of a woman can bring him down.
And from the Senate, $22.79 billion has been approved as 2016-2018 federal government external borrowing plan. 3 states, Kaduna, Katsina and Kogi, are to also benefit from the fund. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports.
On the 17th of November 2019, President Muhammadu Buhari transmitted the 2016-2018 federal government external borrowing plan request to the Senate for approval. 4 months after, the Senate Committee on Local and Foreign Debts has concluded consultations and scrutiny of the loan request and recommended that $22.79 billion be approved.
The committee is further persuaded that the current debt stock is sustainable if the federal government continues to aggressively pursue its revenue drive, which has continued to lead to the erroneous assumption that the country is in debt crisis.
Very commendable project coming to our state that will enable our state to have about 10,000 unemployed people gainfully employed in this project.
He also ensured that each of the items contained in this document are project-tied. We have to ensure that whatever revenue is generated from these infrastructural projects is escrowed and goes strictly towards maintenance of these roads.
The committee, which met with 13 federal ministries and some departments and agencies of government, explained that the loan will close infrastructural deficit and make Nigeria the media hub for Africa through the digitization of the Nigerian Television Authority.
That the NTA digitalization project, which includes the establishment of a state-of-the-art media and culture industrial center, will be positioned to become the digital media hub of West Africa with a very positive return on investment.
There is no economy anywhere in the world, anywhere, even developed economies, where debts are not used for growth.
But let me also emphasize here that we are going to follow very strictly how these funds are applied by the executive arm of government, funding the projects.
Midway into the consideration, Senate dissolved into a closed-door session to address some grey areas. Thereafter, Senate resolved that all terms and conditions prior to the execution of all the projects as contained in the request must be forwarded to the National Assembly for proper documentation. The larger part of this loan is to come from the Chinese Exim Bank. Senate has approved the 2020 budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission of 340 billion naira, of which 306 billion is allocated to development projects. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
Thank you.
Similarly, the House of Representatives has passed a resolution to investigate an alleged $30 billion annual revenue leakage from various malpractices in allocating foreign exchange to companies by the Central Bank of Nigeria and other sources. Following a motion of urgent public importance from Representative James Faleke, House members expressed concern over diversion of forex, tax evasion and other malpractices being perpetrated by public and private entities. House committees on finance and banking and currency were mandated to carry out the investigation. Also to be investigated by the House are alleged extortion, passport racketeering and corrupt practices by the Nigerian Immigration Service, as moved by Representative Chinedu Oka. The Reenacted Companies and Allied Matters Act was passed at plenary, while a bill to establish Federal University of Agriculture and Technology Oreokpe, sponsored by Representative Anthony Afe, passed second reading. In line with federal government's response mechanism to containing the spread of COVID-19, environmental health officers have been provided with guidelines to ensure adherence to standard procedures in their operations. Onengi Fineface reports.
COVID-19 outbreak has given rise to leverage the services provided by environmental health workers to increase surveillance of high-risk areas as part of measures initiated by the Ministry of Environment to contain spread of the virus.
Government is committed to improving the state of the environment because most of the disease burden of the country hinge on low or poor standards of our environment.
Consequently, a guideline to ensure safe and effective operations has been provided for environmental health officers.
It's not only Lassa fever or coronavirus. We are faced with a lot of challenges of emerging and emerging diseases. So the environmental health workforce are ever ready.
For the environmental health officer in the field who have been going about walking as if like a sheep without a guide. Today there is a shepherd given to us.
In addition to surveillance, practitioners can now verify data and produce reports to facilitate management of COVID-19 and other diseases associated with the environment. In Abuja, Onengi Fineface, NTA News.
Thank you, Onengi. The federal government says it is committed to fulfilling all the campaign promises aimed at continuing the socio-economic development of the country and that of citizens. This was contained in President Muhammadu Buhari's message to the second National Policy Development Summit holding in Abuja. Musa Baba Aliu reports.
Today, being the 5th of March 2020, makes it 309 days that this administration came to be following its inauguration in 2019. And moving the country to the next level has been the focus of the administration.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this gathering, therefore, is put together with a view to analyzing the next level agenda of the present administration.
So the whole essence is for us to bring in experts, interrogate these issues, look at what best trajectory to put the nation on so that we can propel the nation to the next level.
Security, economy, infrastructure and social development were the issues tabled for discussion.
That at this critical moment, we should be circumspect when appraising the security situation in Nigeria. You all may recall that when President Muhammad Buhari assumed office in 2015, the demand for armed forces capability and capacity increased in all-time high.
Federal government have huge drive in infrastructure development, but it will not be complete without the states driving infrastructure development at state level. So what His Excellency has done is to charge my Ministry of Works and Infrastructure, to come up with a robust urban renewal program of modernizing and upgrading the infrastructure.
But the government has to be consistent in making sure that as many people as possible benefit. All the inputs should be made available. Mechanization should be encouraged. Availability of fertilizer should be encouraged.
The outcome of the summit, the organizers say, will further assist the government in identifying the areas of priority. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International. Do stay tuned for more after this time out.
That channel where you watch just now don't waka, no panic.
Can you no panic?
You go do it by yourself like ABC. Oh yeah, press the menu button on top your remote. Scroll up and down till you see Information Central. Then press OK.
Press OK.
Check the signal strength and quality. If the signal strength and quality pass 70, make you press the exit button, go back. Go advanced options, then choose installation, then go to reset and press OK.
Yeah, press OK. Wow, now you self fit catch all those channels will be one miss road by yourself. Yes, make your group for no loss. You see as I do, Abi? And I see as I do,
Go TV, live it, love it.
And I see as we do.
COVID-19 transmission is mostly through droplets from sneezing and saliva. The most effective way to protect yourself from the virus is to practice good personal hygiene. Wash hands with soap under running water or use an alcohol-based sanitizer if water is not available. Maintain at least 2 meters distance between yourself and anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Cover your mouth and nose with your elbow or tissue when you cough or sneeze. Dispose of the used tissue immediately. If you have traveled recently to a country with COVID-19 outbreak in the last 14 days and you have a fever, cough, or breathing difficulty, call NCDC toll-free numbers before going to the hospital. This message is from the National Orientation Agency.
Thanks for staying tuned. Now, reports just reaching us say that a Nigerian who just returned from France displaying some symptoms similar to those of coronavirus infection has been quarantined at the Center for Infectious Disease, Yaba, Lagos. Details will come in our subsequent bulletin. Meanwhile, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has arraigned one Charles Abonyi, an auditor with the Pensions Transition Arrangement Directorate, for his alleged involvement in a pension fraud. Olabode Arewa reports that Abonyi was arraigned before an FCT High Court in Wuse on a 4-count charge.
The issue arose when one Tabitha Friday, a pensioner's next of kin, filed a complaint before the EFCC that Charles Abonyi allegedly collected 30,000 naira from her to process the pension benefits of her father, Felix Moka. The incident, which allegedly occurred sometime in March 2016, is contrary to Section 8, Subsection 1 of the ICPC Act of 2016. The Prosecution Counsel, Sunday Roberts, informed the court of his readiness to tender evidence to prove the allegation of fraud against the defendants. Counsel to the defendant, Samuel Ajayi, prayed the court to allow his client to continue enjoying the administrative bail
earlier granted to him by the FCC, while the defendant prepares for defense. Justice Ajoke Adepoju granted the prayer and adjourned the matter to the 2nd of April 2020 for commencement of trial. In Abuja, Labodarewa, NTA News.
The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology is challenging Nigerian inventors and innovators to present research findings proven to be of national interest and wealth creation with an assurance of encouragement and support by the federal government. The Minister, Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu, gave the assurance when he gave a brief of expectations and preparedness towards this year's Science and Technology Expo to hold in Abuja. The expo, which creates a rare opportunity for convergence of innovators, inventors and investors to make sure that ideas from researchers move to the market for commercialization, the minister said, is a deliberate step by the government to ensure that the abundant natural resources the country has will be converted to needed products. Dr. Ogbonnaya Onu sees the expo as a showcase for intellectual capacity and creativity of Nigerians capable of reducing poverty and unemployment.
And we have been assuring our young people, please don't think that if you are a job seeker today and you can't find jobs anywhere, that you cannot become an employer of labor. No, we have technologies developed by the 17 agencies supervised by the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. I am inviting on behalf of the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology all our people, if you are unemployed, please come, move around the stands. If you see any technology that is developed by any of those 17 agencies, come to us. We will hand over this technology to you. You will use that and develop lifetime skills.
This year's Science and Technology Expo will be the 5th in the series, and the theme is Enhancing the Growth of a Diversified Economy Through Science and Technology. The Nigerian Air Force says it has destroyed terrorist logistics facilities and neutralized fighters at Bakarigana in Borno State, launching Operation Decisive Edge to provide support to rout BHTs at Damboa. In a statement by Director, Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force, Air Commodore Ibikunle Daramola, the Air Task Force of Operation Laifia Adoli destroyed some logistics facilities belonging to Boko Haram terrorists, BHTs, at Bakarigana on the fringes of the Sambisa forest in Borno State. The attack was executed after a series of intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance missions, confirming that the terrorists were storing their fuel and other logistics in some huts within Bakarigana. Earlier on, the Nigerian Air Force had also provided close air support as a combination of air and ground operations dealt a decisive blow on the Boko Haram terrorists, neutralizing several of their fighters and destroying some gun trucks. The Nigerian Air Force says, operating in concert with surface forces, it will sustain the intensity of its air campaign to shape the battle space in the northeast for the effective conduct of further ground and air operations. Similarly, the Buhari Media Organization says the Nigerian military has again shown that it has the capacity to crush Boko Haram and other terrorist franchises operating on the fringes of the Lake Chad region and elsewhere in the country. The group said this is obvious from the manner which troops of Operation Laifia Adoli put down ISWAP's audacious attempt to overrun Damboa, a town located 85 kilometers from the Borno State capital, Maiduguri. In a statement signed by its chairman, Ni Akinsiju, the troops proved that the Nigeria Armed Forces has all it takes to repel any threat to the nation's sovereignty. The group urged Nigerians to show more solidarity with troops at the front lines and elsewhere as they work towards ridding the country of terrorists and bandits. And now to foreign news with Ugochukwu as our guide.
You're welcome.
The US and Gabon have agreed to head up an international group which fights against piracy in the sea off the west coast of Africa. A statement by the US said the two countries have assumed the co-secretariat of the Friends of Gulf of Guinea for 2020. Rich pickings at sea, political instability, the lack of law enforcement and poverty on land are all factors which have contributed to the increase in piracy. The presidents of Somalia and Kenya spoke on phone following a heightened diplomatic role, a day after Kenya accused Somalia's military of carrying out an attack across its border. The two leaders agreed to work together to improve border security and form two committees drawn from both countries to look into strengthening diplomatic and trade relations. Algeria's health ministry said the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in the country has jumped to 17 after 9 new cases were registered on Wednesday night. Meanwhile, Senegal recorded 2 more cases involving travelers from Europe. India postpones a planned summit with the European Union due to the outbreak. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi was due to travel to Brussels later this month for meetings with EU leaders. That's a package from here. I am Uche Ugochukwu. Thanks for being a part of it.
Thank you, Uche. Up next is Sports Update.
The Nigeria Cycling Federation has commenced the process of upgrading facilities at the velodrome of the Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja. President of the Federation, Gian Domenico Massari, who disclosed this, assured of the proposed certification of the edifice by the International Cycling Union as more Nigerian cyclists continue to improve in global rankings.
We have applied and eventually we are expecting the final result to be as one satellite world training center.
The Area 3 football pitch Abuja came alive on Thursday as some women football teams engaged in novelty matches ahead of the 2020 International Women's Day to highlight issues affecting women worldwide. The teams include United States Embassy, British High Commission, Nigerian Union of Journalists, Fame Foundation, Helpline, and United Nations.
When you have women out showing that they can play too, and it encourages the next generation to play football, play other sports, get that lifelong.
It begins, I think, ultimately with respect, respect for sex and gender, and I think it's a hard wiring into the culture that is required.
The International Women's Day will be celebrated on March 8. In a related development, stakeholders at a one-day empowerment seminar in Abuja canvassed for more gender equality in Nigeria's sporting industry in the bid to fully harness the potentials of female athletes.
We want parity, want equal pay, we don't want discrimination and all that. So, that's what informed it in a nutshell.
The initiative was part of activities to mark this year's International Women's Day with Sports Update. Kenan Ima Abudike, NTA News.
Sports Update concludes the news on NTA International. Thanks for watching. See you next time.